I think we are. I think, yeah, I think it's so.
Let our hearts not be hardened to those living on the margins. There is room at the table for everyone. This is where it all begins. This is how we gather in. There is room at the table for everyone. Too long we have wandered, burdened and undone. But there is room at the table for everyone. Let us sing the new world in. This is how it all begins. There is room at the table for everyone. There is room for us all, and no gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, pull up a chair. There is room at the table for everyone. No matter who you are, no matter where you're from, there is room at the table for everyone. Here and now we can be the beloved community. There is room at the table for everyone. There is room for us all, and no gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, pull up a chair. There is room at the table for everyone. There is room for us all, and no gift is too small. There is room at the table for everyone. There's enough if we share. Come on, pull up a chair. There is room at the table for everyone. Let our hearts not be hardened to the living on the margins. There is room at the table for everyone. This is how we gather in. For everyone. Everyone.
Good morning and welcome to the live in-person and Zoom worship service for the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside. Our opening hymn this morning is number 83, Winds Be Still. It's a new one for most people, from the Gray Hymnal. Feel free to rise or sing as the Spirit moves you. And now, please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 83, Winds Be Still. Thank you all for joining us here in person and for joining us remotely by Zoom, where we continue to live stream and post our services to our YouTube channel for our virtual attendees. I am Alec Peck, Chair of the Worship Committee, and I will also be your Worship Associate for today. Other members of our wonderful worship committee who make this service possible include Adam Wedeking, who monitors our online and visual connections, and Kate Lewicki, who is in the back, in charge of our sound system. We welcome you to join us this morning with an open mind and an open heart, and with muted electronic devices, please. Welcome to this morning and this opportunity to be together in community. This UU congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being in right relationship with ourselves and with one another. It is a place where we come to learn more about being human and how to grow both individually and collectively. Thank you for joining me on our spiritual journey today. Before we move into our service, there are a few announcements that I'd like to share. Now, I'll mention a few websites, email addresses, and phone numbers, and we'll leave up a slide at the end of the service with all that information so you don't have to write it down now. Our sharing of joys and concerns is one of the important rituals of our community, an opportunity to share our milestones, losses, achievements, and experiences with one another. And on the first Sunday of each month, we will hear from people here in the sanctuary, and we also read the joys and concerns if you've sent any of them into us. For those of you at home, you could send those joys and concerns throughout the month to uuchurchofriverside.com. Our next joys and concerns will be on October 5th. We've also begun collecting donations for this year's Festival of Lights, our annual holiday fundraiser. Donations can include money, bottles of water, coffee, canned drinks, and individually wrapped snacks, which will be offered to visitors during the festival. We appreciate your love and support. Please see Kate at the back in the sound system or Robert Ron, our administrator, for more details. I would now like to invite up Adam Wedeking, our chair of the Social and Environmental Justice Committee, who will tell us about today's meeting. Come on up, Adam.
Good morning. Today is our third Sunday of the month, which is when we have our Social and Environmental Justice Committee meeting. It is also the International Day of Peace. And so to sort of commemorate the day, we are decorating our sidewalks with messages of love and peace and justice. So we've got a bunch of sidewalk chalk, and I'll print up some ideas. I've got a list of ideas of things you can write or pictures you can draw, but you're welcome to draw whatever kind of inspires you. So, and then at about 11:30, the Social and Environmental Justice Committee may come in to the church here to have a little bit of a meeting, but really go out, have your coffee, enjoy your snacks and conversation, and then go on outside and start drawing some images and some messages. That's really going to be the most big part of our meeting today. So hopefully see you all out there. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Adam. Our time together here is brief, but it is filled with joy, and in that spirit, I invite you to turn to those around you and greet them, welcome them, and share your joy this morning. For those on Zoom, you can use the Zoom wave gesture or just wave at your camera. Welcome to all of our visitors today, and welcome back to old friends. We would love to meet you during the coffee hour after the service in the parish hall, where you can also find our visitors tablet, a little tablet where you can leave your name and some of information if you'd like to before you leave, if you want to get information about the church updates. There'll also be a short discussion after the service, so that way you can share any reflections with us. For those online, the best way to be added to the mailing list is to email the church office at admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. And now I invite you to sit back and take a slow and deep breath as we move into the worship hour. And you are welcome to read with me the mission statement of our church. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to live in harmony with all the living creatures and plants of the earth. This do we affirm. Reverend Bruce A. Bode, who wrote today's service, is Minister Emeritus at Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Port Townsend, Washington, from which he retired in 2018 as the senior minister after serving the congregation for 14 years. Before coming to Port Townsend, Reverend Bode was the interim minister in Houston, Texas, and at the Hope Unitarian Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Prior to that, he served for 2 years as associate minister in Grand Rapids, Michigan, a large, independent, religiously liberal congregation. His service today: you are perfect the way you are, and you could use a little improvement, writes Japanese Zen teacher Shunryu Suzuki. This sermon, given at the University Unitarian Church of Seattle, Washington in 2023, explores our inner sense of being both judged and accepted. But first, we have 2 lightings of sacred flame. The first is the first is a remembrance candle for the indigenous peoples who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. We remember that we live off the unceded land of several indigenous peoples, including the Cahuilla, the Luiseno, the Serrano, the Tongva, the Cupeño, and others. And we light this sacred flame in their remembrance and in recognition of their ongoing struggle for freedom and dignity. And our second flame is our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. We are blessed with this space and our opportunities to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her peoples, and to be a part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Today's chalice lighting words are "To Pause on the Journey" by Linda Hart. Every day is a new start, every year a beginning, or so we'd like to believe. And we don't know, can't anticipate where we will go, what will happen, what delights await, what heartbreaks will, what tears us apart, the path unexpected that opens before us. Even knowing that, we lean our lives in particular ways, focus on particular moments, incline our attention to what is in our hearts and lives and hands to offer. We know for sure that ours is in the going, finding out what is on the path, and off in giving and creating what we can. We come here amidst the discoveries and delights, the worries and woes, to find a moment, to connection, to pause on the journey, in gratitude and sorrow. It is good to be together. Our hymn now is number 123, Spirit of Life, from the Gray Hymnal. Please feel free to rise as the Spirit moves you, and please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. This portion of our service is to support our beloved historical church. This can be accomplished in several ways. In addition to the weekly collection, you may also send checks to the church address shown here behind me, and you may also contribute by PayPal using the QR code also shown here, also shown on the website and out in the newsletter. Stater Brothers Market gives our church a rebate on Stater's grocery cards, which we will have in the church each Sunday. You get the full value on the card like a gift card, and the church also receives a percentage on top for free. Please see Robert Braun in the church office if you are interested in purchasing our gift cards. Please donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever methods work best for you. Thank you so much for your time and generosity. To those who give their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. And to all of you who have joined us here today, thank you for the gift of your presence. Will our ushers now please come forward to help receive our collection? A tote bag will also be going around to collect food and hygiene items for our local community. And now our hymn is number 402, From You I Receive, from the Gray Hymnal. Please feel free to rise or sing as the Spirit moves you, and please now rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 402, From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
This part of our service is to center and ground ourselves in the present moment. We invite you to sit back, relax, and if you wish, to gently close your eyes. Our meditation today is by Margaret E. Sangster. It isn't the things you do, dear. It's the things you leave undone that gives you a bit of a headache at setting of the sun. The tender word forgotten, the letter you did not write, the flowers you did not send, dear, are haunting your ghosts at night. Let us pause now for a moment of silence and reflection. It reminded me a lot of that Lupe Fiasco song, Words I Never Said. Anyone know that one? All right, maybe I'm the only one. That's okay. I would now like to introduce Mari Moores, who will be reading the sermon, Something Judges Us, Something Accepts Us, by Reverend Bruce A. Bode. This was a pre-written service taken from the UUA website, and so it may not necessarily reflect Mari's personal opinions.
Good morning. Are you able to hear me okay? Yeah. I've been told I'm soft-spoken, so I'll try to project a little more this morning. So the sermon this morning is titled Something Judges Us, Something Accepts Us. The original author includes in their service a reading in relation to this theme of judgment and acceptance, one that expresses a common experience of self-reflection and internal judgment. Its form comes as a poem by C.K. Williams titled The Gaffe, which is written in 3 parts and goes as follows. If that someone who's me, yet not me, yet who judges me, is always with me, as he is, shouldn't he have been there when I said so long ago that thing I said? If he who rakes me with such not trivial shame for minor sins now were there, then shouldn't he have warned me he'd even now devastate me for my unpardonable affront? I'm a child then, yet already I've composed this conscious beast who harries me. Is there anything else I can say with certainty about who I was, except that that he, could already draw from infinitesimal transgressions complex chords of remorse, and orchestrate ever undiminishing retribution from the hapless rest of myself? The son of some friends of my parents has died, and my parents, paying their call, take me along, and I'm sent out with the dead boy's brother and some others to play. We're joking around, and some words come to my mind, which to my amazement are said. How do you know when you can laugh when somebody dies, your brother dies? Is what's said, and the others go quiet. The backyard goes quiet. Everyone stares, and I want to know now why that someone in me who's me yet not me let me say it. Shouldn't he have told me the contrition cycle would then be ever upon me? It didn't matter that I'd really only wanted to know how grief ends and when. I could hear the boy's mother sobbing inside, then stopping. Sobbing, then stopping. Was the end of her grief already there? Had her someone in her told her it would end? Was her someone in her kinder to her, not tearing at her as mine did, still does, me, for guessing grief someday ends? Is that why her sobbing stopped sometimes? She didn't laugh, though, or I never heard her. How do you know when you can laugh? Why couldn't someone have been there in me not just to accuse me, but to explain? The kids were playing again. I was playing. I didn't hear anything more from inside. The way now sometimes what's in me is silent too, and sometimes though never really forgets. This morning, I invite you to join me in a journey of reflection on what I regard as one of the major paradoxes of our lives. It's a paradox that is nicely expressed in a single sentence from the Japanese Zen teacher Shunryu Suzuki, which reads as follows. You are perfect the way you are, and you could use a little improvement. To adequately characterize our lives, it won't do, it seems, to simply to say, you are perfect the way you are. Now, we might be tempted to stop there. But no, we get a fuller picture of our life when we add the phrase, and you could use a little improvement. These two forces are expressed as a contradiction, but it's one of those seeming contradictions that we call a paradox. Dual powers that push and pull and strain and rub against each other, creating this friction, the energy, the tension that is our life. So let's take a look at this paradox, and I'm going to begin with the second part, and you could use a little improvement. This is reflected in the capacity that we humans have for judgment, for evaluation, for critique. It's the part of us that judges others, the world, and the nature of things. It's the part of us that judges ourselves, and it's the part of us that feels the weight of these judgments, both from others and from ourselves. I suggest that this capacity of judgment that finds a home in us is part of the creative urge and surge in all reality. part and parcel of what Albert Schweitzer spoke of as the infinite, unoriginated, forward-pushing creative urge. A creative urge that never rests, that always pushes forward to go beyond what presently is, that is forever dissatisfied with what presently is. It's the threefold urge, as philosopher Albert North Whitehead has described it. 1, to live, 2, to live well, and 3, to live better. That inherent dissatisfaction with what presently is expressed in the words of a hymn in our singing the Living Tradition hymnal, which you should be happy I'm not inflicting on you this morning, as it's very difficult to sing. But the hymn, number 304 in our hymnal, is titled A Fierce Unrest, and begins with these words. A fierce unrest seethes at the core of all existing things. It was the eager wish to soar that gave the gods their wings. And the hymn ends with these words. Sing, we no governed firmament cold, ordered, regular. We sing the stinging discontent that leaps from star to star. So we find this element of judgment and stinging discontent in the opening creation stories from the book of Genesis in the Hebrew Bible. There, in the beginning, the judgment is all positive, for we read in the very first chapter of Genesis that the Creator God, Yahweh, after nearly every act of creation, looked upon the object or entity just made and judged it good. And then, after everything is made, Yahweh declares that it is all very good, and sits down to rest and to enjoy the completed creation. So initially, the story does not report any dissatisfaction whatsoever on the part of the creator. The creator does not say, yes, good, but not great. Yes, good, but could be improved. Nothing of the sort. The creator is immensely pleased with the creation, declaring, behold, it's all very good. In other words, you are perfect the way you are. That positive judgment, however, that Sabbath rest, does not last very long. For just a few chapters later in the book of Genesis, there is another story, a story that reports the Creator deeply regretting the creation he has made, and there we read, Yahweh regretted having made mankind on the earth, and his heart was grieved. I will rid the earth's face of mankind, my own creation, Yahweh said, and of animals also, reptiles too, and the birds of the heaven, for I regret having made them. Genesis 6, verses 6 to 7. And then comes the legendary biblical flood that wipes out everything, save Noah and those with him in his little floating boat. In other words, Yahweh is not just saying you could use a little improvement. Yahweh is basically saying we've got to start from scratch here. So, in the mind of Yahweh here, you may not be too surprised to learn, seems to reflect a conflict in our own minds. For that is often how it is at the time when we first create something, or are enthusiastically involved in something we're quite proud of our work or pleased in our activity, caught up in it as we are. But then you know how it is sometimes with the passage of time, the thing you created or the action you took, which seems quite wonderful at the time, doesn't seem quite so wonderful after a while, and you begin to see flaws in your work or in your actions, and you begin to imagine how it might have been better and how it could be improved. And sometimes, after a longer passage of time, in looking back upon your previous work or activity, you may find yourself muttering, I can't believe I thought that was good. What an embarrassment. Thus, the very positive judgment in the beginning gives way to a very negative judgment later on, somewhat like artists or authors are tempted to do, and who sometimes actually do, destroy or burn everything they've created. And on occasion, as a longtime minister, I've been close to witness to persons who in late life look back upon their lives with a severe negative judgment. Persons that others would judge to be beautiful persons, full of grace, who have lived rich and productive lives, and yet the individuals themselves do not feel this as the end closes in on them. Some lines from poet T.S. Eliot speak to this regret that I have witnessed in some persons of older age as they look back upon their lives near the end, and these are hard, difficult words from the poet, but which seems to hit the mark in these situations. So writes T.S. Eliot, somewhat sarcastically and cynically, let me disclose the gifts reserved for age, to set a crown upon your lifetime's effort. First, the cold friction of expiring sense, without enchantment, offering no promise, but bitter tastelessness of shadow fruit. As body and soul begin to fall asunder. Second, the conscious impotence of rage at human folly and the laceration of laughter at what ceases to amuse. And last, and this is the part I'm thinking of most here, the rending pain of reenactment, of all that you have done and been, the shame, of motives late revealed, and the awareness, of things ill done and done to others harm, which once you took for exercise of virtue. That's excerpt from Bert Norton, The Four Quartets. So this is part of our capacity for judgment. Something judges us so that often we feel that we haven't measured up and are found wanting. Judgment turned inward, as in the poem The Gaff that I read earlier from C.K. Williams. At other times, of course, our capacity to judge is turned outward, so that we judge the actions and motives of others for good or ill. And understandably, not always in their presence, for life is complicated as it is. And particularly in our earlier years, as we are trying to find our way in life and discover our identity, our judgment of peers, parents, teachers, and society can be devastatingly harsh, but also in our older years too, as in Eliot's Rage at Human Folly. So, all right, enough of the something that judges us. Let's go on now to the other side of the paradox, the something that accepts us, the part that affirms and embraces us, the part that says, you are perfect the way you are. At the cosmic level, for me, this is connected to reality, simply being what it is with no judgment in it at all. No good or bad, no right or wrong. Nature is what it is, and we are what we are. Reality, nature, being, God, use the term that works for you, simply is. Active, moving, always experimenting, always becoming, always pushing beyond itself, yes, but still, it is what it is, and we are what we are. Namely, part of this isness, the suchness of being, to borrow a Buddhist term. This suchness of things is represented in the Hebrew creation myth as the tree of eternal life, a symbol that stands in contrast to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which represents judgment. And this suchness of things has to do with a capacity within us that accepts ourselves and all things as they are, that values things as they are, here and now, not for what they might yet become. This is the power of affirmation that accepts us no matter what we've done or what we will do. It's the power of affirmation and acceptance that the 18th century English slave trader John Newton discovered in his darkest hour of self-judgment, which he characterized as an amazing grace. And grace is the primary term that is used in Christian theology to get at this side of reality. A radiance of light typically experienced most keenly in our darkest times of feeling cut off, split off, and unworthy. The times when we feel negatively judged either from without or from within, from both or both from without and from within. Nowhere that I know of has this experience of acceptance and grace been spoken of more eloquently than in a sermon from the Protestant theologian in the Lutheran tradition, Paul Tillich, a sermon titled, You Are Accepted. Tillich writes, grace strikes us when we are in great pain and restlessness. It strikes us when we walk through the dark valley of a meaningless and empty life. It strikes us when we feel that our separation is deeper than usual, because we have violated another life, a life which we loved, or from which we were estranged. It strikes us when our disgust for our being, our indifference, our weakness, our hostility, and our lack of direction and composure have become intolerable to us. It strikes us when, year after year, the longed-for perfection of life does not appear, when the old compulsions reign within us as they have for decades, when despair destroys all joy and courage. Sometimes at that